Welcome to Sunday Night Roundtable. I'm your host, Jason, and that noise means that somebody's here with us. I don't know what that was. It wasn't the draft announcement sound, but it was pretty darn close. I'm your host, Jason, here tonight on Toilets Titles, and with me are my guys on this draft week. I'm going to start with David because David, right before the show, introduced us to his 3-week-old twins. So we're going to start with David and let him say hello.
Yeah, I wanted to put them in the diapers to titles onesies that you guys sent, but they're 3 to 6 months, so they just kind of swam in those. But we'll get them on a show with them on here when they fit into them.
Yeah, look, it's probably better anyway because if you put them in newborn size, they'd be if they're anything like my son, they'd be out of them in a day and a half. Just the way the
They
kids
were in
grow.
preemie when they first got here, and that lasted about 4 days, and then that was over. So
Just wait. If your kids are like mine, my son's 11 and 5'4". He's a massive human being. So also with me is in that top right corner or left corner, depending on how you're looking at it. It's my brother George. George, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic. Happy to be here. Excited. We got it's like a family reunion type theme we got going on today. We got David with his twins. We got mom here. We dug deep and got Nino to come back for a show. Like the family is back together. Like it just feels great. I'm so excited for the show.
It's always special when mom shaves her beard. Justin, how you doing this evening?
Hey, I'm doing great. Hey, David, I sent you the 3 to 6 months by design. I was hoping that way they'd be able to fit into them right around kickoff of week 1. So that was that was the thinking there. I did it on purpose, and you're going to be given we're probably given all those newborn stuff early on from everyone else. I was forward thinking, but yeah, great to be on. When I got the message, like I had no intentions on being on here today, and then I got the message earlier that you guys said that you were sending the show notes to Nino, and I was like, well, hell, if Nino's gonna be on, I gotta crash the party. So I'm very appreciative of you guys for letting me come on, because anytime you can get an hour of Nino's time, like it's worth it. Like this man he's the hardest working man in the industry. I'm not going to take away from your intro here though, Jason. So I'll let you take over, but appreciate having you on, Nino.
Well, I think these guys did a good job introducing our guest tonight. He's formerly of Toilets Titles, but back to hang out with us. You can tell how special it is when you get a drunk Justin to show up and just hang out because he can, and then you get George to actually pay attention during the intro. It's something special when we can get Nino back on the show. Nino, how the heck are you? It's been a long time for me.
It's it's an honor actually to be on with you guys. I have seen George a few months ago. You know, we were at the Senior Bowl together, but you know, it's been a while since we all got to chop it up, and I'm excited for this one. Mom, again, planning ahead, and planning the onesies for 3 to 6 months. Kudos to you, my man. Kudos to you.
Yeah, it's a good. Oh, he's still at it.
What do we got there? What's that?
It's whiskey out the bottle.
Yukon Jack. Yeah, I'm the only one that drinks it around here, so why waste the glass, right?
I love it.
Well,
guys, I really hope he has to work tomorrow morning.
Hashtag not a sponsor, but Yukon, sir, if you're watching, reach out, please. I'll take examples.
Well, the reason we wanted to bring Nino on is because he is, to me, one of the best in the business at the college football level, the guys that are getting ready to go into the NFL. And I've always said, look, if they're good enough, I will watch them on Sundays. So we needed to bring somebody on who's got that experience, got that knowledge, got that know-how. And that's why we brought in Nino tonight. It is draft week, guys. This is the biggest day in the careers of several of these NFL analysts. Because we get to see how exactly wrong it's going to be. And it's probably a big day for some of these college football players too. I don't know. Whatever. These guys have been working their whole lives leading up to this moment. So we wanted to come on and talk about destinations. And before we do that, I'm going to pass it off to Mom with a beard to talk about rival fantasy sports.
For those that aren't already aware, Rival Fantasy is the newest evolution in fantasy sports. Rival's all-in-one fantasy platform has changed the fantasy sports landscape. From fantasy bingo, where you mark off boxes of achievements that your players accomplish on the field, to season-long and best ball leagues, to mock drafts and challenges, and more. They have the perfect user-friendly website and app for you. So send a challenge to your friend or send a challenge to your rival and tell them to put their money where their mouth is. But your first deposit of up to $200 will be matched, plus an additional $25 just for using that link, joinrival.com/titletribe. That's joinrival.com/titletribe.
Hey,
Thank you, Mom with a beard.
I
Go
thought
ahead,
Sexy
Nino.
Red was a rapper. Sexy Red, we got the new Sexy Red right here, buddy.
Yep, appreciate that. I've been working out.
It was so sexy it burned off him. You see that? One more thing before we jump into the show. I do want to mention that you can join us on our Gilded chat. You can go to email us at toiletstitles@gmail.com. You can join us on Gilded. Gilded is kind of like a Discord server, but it's a Gilded app. It's just Toilets Titles, 200 plus people talking about fantasy football all the time. We've got all kinds of, we got IDP, we got gambling, we got dynasty, redraft, you name it, we got it in there. We have, when the games actually start, we talk all during the games about how the game's going. We're in there all the time talking about football, and there's 200 of us. It makes Toilets Titles one of the very most accessible teams to you guys. So come join us at Gilded or on our Gilded chat at toiletstitles@gmail.com. I mess that up every time, but Gilded is awesome. So guys, jump in and join us. So with that, we are going to jump into the news. There wasn't much this week, but George did add, and I thank him for this, that former Ravens running back J.K. Dobbins now signs with the L.A. Chargers, and he rejoins with the Ravens OC Greg Roman. Guys, on a scale of 1 to, I don't care about this, how does J.K. Dobbins and his injured legs rate jumping over to the Chargers? I'm going to start with our guest, Nino.
I mean, he got him at a discounted rate when he had him at before, right? I mean, he's just getting him at with the hope that, you know, the explosiveness is back, you know, and that he can still be that pass catching back. I mean, it seems as though Gus Edwards and JK are just going to be the 1-2 married couple forever, right? Just wherever they go, they're going to go together. They're going to be used as a group. And I don't think that they don't take it back late in the draft as well to pair with this group here, because JK is a coin flip, right? Like last year, he made it a point to say, yeah, I'm ready to go. And went through all that Maloney with was it Scheffler or whoever who said that, reported that he wasn't good to go, and he was saying he was good to go, to only come out for what, 2 weeks and then be done again. So 2 major injuries back-to-back years. I need to see the explosiveness. They got him on a bargain deal 1 year, so it is what it is. Like I said, they're probably going to take one later in this draft.
Well, why would they take one when they could just get Justice Hill and run it back?
Go to 2.0 version, right?
David, you excited about this?
Yeah, I don't care. He'll last a week or two, and then they'll throw Blake Corum in there. So,
I quit tipping picks.
Well, what he's actually doing is Harbaugh is the coach, and Blake Corum came from Michigan, so it makes sense that Harbaugh would want, you know, his boy from college to come run it with him in Los Angeles. But yeah, no, it's not really that big of a fantasy news item here.
Well, so Ninja Turtle JFA says, I was surprised when the Chiefs didn't get him. Anybody think he would have been a better fit on the Chiefs than he is with the Chargers?
I mean, the Chiefs actually have a running back, so like,
yeah, it's a good point.
It's a health thing. Like he's got to be able to remain healthy. That's the key thing. Like, the kid is uber talented, but I mean, the best ability is availability. If he can't get on the field and stay on the field, what does it matter? It doesn't.
They reached out to Clyde Edwards-Helaire to bring him back before they reached out to J.K. Dobbins. Enough said.
That tells you, yeah, that should tell you a lot.
I don't know, man. Do you follow J.K. Dobbins on Twitter? He did post a video of him in one of his best runs ever, and he said, "This is the J.K. Dobbins you're getting." And what we see on Twitter is factual, right? Like we got to believe it.
Oh man!
Hey, this is the I'm in the best peak physical condition of my life part of the off season right now. That's where we're at.
Yeah. Just
I don't
saying,
know, man.
if my scale options were 1, 2, I don't care, then I have to choose 1 because I at least care a little bit.
I don't know how much I take my news from Twitter or X or whatever it's called. I saw little Juju Smith-Schuster this week on X, and it just soured me on the whole app.
Junior Juju.
Oh man!
Well, so other than this news, it was a very quiet week for NFL news leading up to the draft. So we're going to go ahead and get right into our draft discussion. What we're going to do here is we're going to go over where we believe these draft picks are going to land. And then we'll probably discuss a little bit if we like that or not. Look, there's a couple there where I picked it and I'm like, I'm not a big fan of this, but I think it might happen. And then, next time we get together, it'll be post-draft and we can talk about how we all got it wrong because none of this ever goes the way it is planned. The only one that I can think we will all get right is the 101, unless the Bears just do a Bears thing. But I don't think that's going to happen. We all picked Caleb Williams, and that just seems like a no-brainer. The only discussion I'm going to have here is I just want to get everybody's temperature on how they think Caleb Williams will do this season with the Bears. It feels like they've set him up for success, but do you guys think he'll have a good season this year? And I'm going to start with Nino.
Yeah, I think they're setting up. This is, I have a feeling that he truly didn't like the temperature in Chicago 60 days ago. Okay. And they were like, okay, well, we got to do something here. They went out, got another tight end, right? Another guy that's a receiving guy and can play on the line to help block for him. They went out, got another receiver, Keenan Allen, who at the pro day, who was there? Keenan Allen was at Caleb Williams pro day. Your guy, coach, right? He says all the time, read the tea leaves. Well, these leaves weren't very difficult to read. So I think that they did everything they possibly could to make sure Caleb Williams didn't pull a Eli Manning and is happy to come over here year one and just be plugged into this offense and go. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't take another receiving rep in the first 2 rounds. I do believe they'll probably take a lineman to make sure they keep their investment upright for the next 3 to 4 years. But I think Caleb Williams could be built for fantasy success if everything in Chicago isn't what it has been for the last 3 years. If the regime has actually decided to turn over a new leaf per se and go a whole new route, yeah, I think Caleb Williams could possibly be in that for year one, top 12 fantasy quarterback, possibly top 8, depending on ceiling. That would be my ceiling floor this year.
Well, Justin, just in case you were interested, the weather in Chicago 60 days ago was 48 degrees and sunny.
It's about the same right now.
I quickly Googled it because Nino mentioned it. But what do you think about Caleb Williams this year and going forward?
I agree with everything that Nino said. The only thing I would add is I think maybe with that second pick in the first round, I wouldn't be surprised to see them trade out of that, trade back into maybe the second round and get another future first or second to really kind of help continue to build this young team. Obviously, aside from some of the free agents that they brought in, which, like Nino said, are designed to make this rookie look good year one, outside of them, they're overall a pretty young team. So they're going to look to get other pieces to replace those older parts as they move on. So I think they're doing all the right things. Like even on paper last year, I feel like they were better than what we saw on the field. Like they're all making all the right. Tyson Bagent looked pretty damn good considering his draft stock. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I like the moves that they're making. If I were a Chicago fan, I'd be happy right now.
David, I saw you your leg bouncing there. It looked a little weird. You're gonna go next.
That's a cat. Yeah, I don't know. I until I see the get off me. Until I see the Bears actually succeed with a quarterback, I'm not gonna trust it. I don't care what the team looks like around it. As a matter of fact, I've already told. I was on a podcast the other day, and I told that for a couple of Bears fans, and I said my suggestion is if you ruin him like you've ruined every other quarterback you've ever had, just pick up, highwayman, freaking Nick Foles and people like that, and build the team around him. Because you guys can't pick quarterbacks for the life of you.
Are they called highwaymen? I thought they were journeymen.
That's
Journeyman,
the word.
yeah.
I'm exhausted.
Listen, he said highwayman. I literally thought they were going to go get somebody off the interstate and be like, hey, come play quarterback for us.
Listen,
we're going to build a team around you. Like
you could build the team around them. Yeah.
Guys picking trash.
That's what I thought. I honestly thought they had construction workers up there in Chicago that were just, one of these days we're going to get a quarterback from a construction worker. That's where I thought he was going.
I did watch it too. Justin did bring up a good point of them trading out of that second spot. They do only have, I think, 4 or 5 picks. They have the least amount of picks in the draft, so they're not going to trade out of the 1-1, obviously. But
so
to get some people.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to trade back if this draft is loaded with offensive linemen, and I think if you're going to be spending the number 1 overall pick on a quarterback, I don't care how good the receivers that they brought in are. I don't care how good the 3 running backs on that team are, which, by the way, you can make an argument that team has probably the 3 best running backs in the NFL at position RB1, RB2, RB3. I don't care how good the tight ends are. If you don't have an offensive line that can actually give the quarterback time to throw the ball and protect him and keep him upright, it's not going to matter. I think they take offensive lineman with that number 9 pick. If they trade back, that would be smart, but I think you want to get yourself a stud lineman to help keep him upright. And last I checked, the Chicago Bears offensive line is not that good.
We're going to let it go because we got a lot of guys to talk about, but I'm not sure that I would call DeAndre Swift, Khalil Herbert, and Roschon Johnson, or, order those guys any way you want, the best running backs in the NFL. But we can move on because
positions 1, 2, and 3. Yes, like if you look at the other teams, running back 1, running back 2, and running back 3, Chicago has some of the best 1, 2, and 3s over the rest of the league.
All right, I promised we'd move on from that, so we're going to go ahead and move on from that. But we could argue that for a while.
That sounds like a good one, George.
All right. So next we've got Drake May. So George and Justin have the Commanders. I've got the Vikings, and David's got the Patriots. Nino, I think you've got question marks behind your name. I'm not sure if you have them with the Patriots, but go ahead. We'll go ahead. I'm gonna start with Nino a lot because I miss the guy.
Well, Nino's a Patriots fan too, so.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm unless we go and get an absolute top 12 wide receiver, you trade out. You have too many holes. We have a bona fide wide receiver 3 at best on our team in Kendrick Bourne as the top signed wide receiver, and maybe Pop Douglas if he can play more than 9 games in the season, right? Like they brought back, Hunter at tight end, so he's Linus. He's gonna be the blankie for whatever quarterback is going to be there, and Ramondre's there, but your offensive line is holes, right? You have no 1, you don't even have a 2. How do you accept? And for me, Drake May out of the top 3 is the guy I have the most concerns about. I think he's the biggest project quarterback, so I'm not really sure what to do here if you have the 3 pick and you're going to go out quarterback. I would rather them trade back. And I think that KJ Osborne signing is a little Easter egg in this whole scheme of things, because that converts like somehow, I think, a 3rd round pick to Minnesota in compensation, which would help them add in the deal to trade if they were to trade up from, is it 11? Is that where they're at?
Yeah, 11
so
and
they
23.
could package 11 and 23 in that 3rd. So New England, and all of a sudden, New England's got a ball game now where they can possibly get either a receiver and a quarterback, a lineman and a lineman and a receiver, and then get these other gentlemen, the second wave of quarterbacks in that 2nd round.
Well, so I guess the big thing here, and we'll just jump right into Jaden Daniels as well, because that's if you don't have the Patriots taking them. George and Justin have the Patriots taking Jaden Daniels. David and I have the Commanders taking Jaden Daniels. Like, it's just a flip flop there. If there's not a trade back, obviously. Let's go around the. I know Nino. It sounds like Daniels is the number 2 choice for him. We haven't talked about it, but David, who's your number 2 quarterback? Is it May or is it Daniels?
It's May. I just everything I've been reading and hearing, it's the Commanders look like they're more interested in Daniels. So I like May better. Seems like the Commanders might like Daniels better. So that's why I put it that way. I agree that the Patriots should probably trade back, but how often do they find themselves, in a situation to grab somebody? If you think which either one you're going to get is a future franchise quarterback, grab him, because you're not going to get that in the second round with Bo Nix or Michael Penix, I don't think.
But you got a defensive-minded head coach and an offensive coordinator, right? And Alex Van Pelt, that's been a journeyman offensive coordinator, and the only reason why he's here is because he was the leftovers of the scrap meat that was left after coaching signings were done. That's my concern. We just watched it. They just ruined Mac Jones. Whether it was Belichick trying to prove a point or not, okay, they ruined the kid. You're going to put Drake May, who needs to work on a couple things, and so does Daniels, right? But Daniels just showed you what his ceiling can be. We haven't seen May's ceiling. We're seeing a ceiling. We're seeing where you could be 5,000, 50 touchdowns. Like, you could see that. But May has concerns, and he's never made it out of North Carolina. You're going to be okay in October and November and December in New England? I'm concerned about all that. The kid can run, yes, and he's an athlete, and he has a howitzer, and he can make them throws into a mouse hole. But sometimes when it comes to making adjustments, Stevie Wonder can't do it, right? Can't even see it, right? When it comes to when he gets out of the pocket and flushed, he, unlike Jaden Daniels, who this year did that adjustment of when I'm on the run, my first look is to throw the ball. Drake May's putting that thing underneath his arm and going because he's relying on that 4.5 speed. New England and the Commanders are kind of the similar situations, right? They're also kind of. Go ahead.
If you
Commanders are in a better situation than New England,
but they have a bad history of treating their players. Yes, I know it's a new regime, but just this morning, the reporters that Jaden Daniels was under the impression that he was the only quarterback being interviewed for the Commanders' quarterback position.
Well, that's on Jaden. Agent. That's on Jaden Daniels and his agent.
Everybody knows Washington making it seem that way.
I don't think so. I think. Listen, I can't believe 90% of what I hear right now coming out from anybody because it's all smoke screen. They're all trying to throw each other off.
It's silly season right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think. Listen, I think these two teams are both desperate for quarterbacks between the Commanders and the Patriots. I don't know when the next time we're going to see either one of these teams drafting in the top 5, really, without having to trade up to get what is potentially considered a franchise quarterback. There's a lot of talent and a lot of things that Drake May does that I absolutely love. His cannon of an arm is phenomenal. His athletic ability, and like Nino said, he does rely on that 4.5 speed. But I think New England, if the only way they trade back is if Jaden Daniels is gone, because Nino, we were at the Senior Bowl. They're not going to trade back and get JJ McCarthy. I honestly don't think the Vikings have to trade up to get him. I really don't. I think they can get him at 11 and be fine.
But now are they keeping Justin Jefferson then? Because Justin Jefferson is one project. JJ's a project.
Yeah, they're going to keep Jefferson. Absolutely. They give him the 5th. Listen, they could put him
Sam
on
Donald this year. Then
that's okay. No,
that's not okay with him. That's not okay with him.
No.
He won't sign that deal.
They would get JJ McCarthy.
He's not a starter. He's not a day one starter. Him and Drake May are not day one starters.
Oh, I agree. I absolutely.
They'll start day one. I'll make a bet with you that both of them start.
They'll start, but they shouldn't, is what I'm saying. Yeah, they are not ready to start. What has JJ McCarthy been good at? Handing the ball off, bro.
And that's fine. But you mentioned New England going for a second-tier quarterback. Bro, we were both at the Senior Bowl. We both watched Bo Nix and Michael Penix. We both know it's not an upgrade from what's on the roster right now. I'm sorry.
Michael Penix is way better than Jacoby Brissett.
What happens when Michael Penix gets just a little bit of pressure? Just a little bit of pressure. Bro, he folds like a fucking chair. Sorry, that's one. He folds like a chair.
No, you're right.
He folds like a crumpled piece of paper. Just a little bit of pressure. And you're talking about the offensive line in New England's going to be able to protect him? No, sir. Absolutely not.
Relying on this rookie kid that's going to be running around and hope to God he doesn't get injured. Hope to God that it doesn't screw him up for the next year, right? You said that they're probably not going to be picking in the top 5. You start Drake May, there's a 60% chance you're picking in this top 5 for next season. I would bet my bottom dollar on that, my friend. Because what you're drafting him and to go into a Swiss cheese. You're drafting him to go into the fire with no pawns in front of him. He got nobody to block for him. He got nobody to throw the ball to. He has nothing. And they don't even have Rondé Stevenson on an extension. Who's behind Stevenson? I'll wait.
Yeah, no, there's nobody there. No, agreed.
I
absolutely
you can't do it.
It's a total reclamation project up in New England. I concede that and I agree. But getting the quarterback is the key piece to starting the reclamation project.
So we touched on
it doesn't matter if you go out and get one of those wide receivers because who's going to throw the ball to him? It doesn't matter.
Not only that, that's what I was actually going to talk about. If they do go out and get one of those wide receivers, then all that does is make, especially if it's like Marvin Harrison or Neighbors, that makes them just a little bit better and keeps them maybe out of that top 5 picks for next year anyway. Like their quarterbacks are serviceable right now enough to get them enough wins to stay out of that top 5 if they have the talent at wide receiver. It's actually a bad move. I think that's why I like the Patriots with this pick in the 3rd, because I like draft day trades, and I think it's going to be where we're going to finally see our first one on draft night. I think the Patriots are going to trade out of it. I went ahead and wrote down that I think that the Patriots are going to end up with Jaden Daniels, but that was just if they don't trade out. But I'm pretty confident they're going to trade out.
Look at recent history. Look at the Texans. The Texans last year, everybody had the same thing. Texans are going to win 3 games. Texans are going to win 4 games. Nobody liked anybody on their roster. Then they get a quarterback and smash. They're now everybody loves them. To me, the similarities between the Texans last year before the draft and the Patriots this year before the draft are creepy similar. Both of them defensive-minded coaches who used to be linebackers, I believe, coming in, and everybody wants them to build that way. If you have that quarterback, if you truly believe that's your quarterback, the rest of the roster, they can elevate around him.
Where's Will Anderson coming from? Where's Will Anderson coming from? We all say, they got C.J. Stroud, right? They got the defensive rookie of the year as well at 2. We forget about that. We don't just want to put that in there because it doesn't fit, right? Like C.J. Stroud, yes, he's great, and he probably has longevity and be a top 5 quarterback, but Will Anderson helped change the defense. He also brought people in that wanted to come over there. Look at that now. He said he was at the Pro Bowl. Everybody on defensive free agency said, yo, can I come there? That's the place to go? Did we forget about Tank Dell? Right, like
as soon as D'Amico Ryans was there, I'd have been happy to go there as a defensive player. So.
We also got Dell, right? Nico Collins finally had a quarterback who could throw the ball downfield. The net guard sucked at the deep ball. Davis Mills was terrible, right? Yeah. So Nico Collins was an afterthought. Once he got a decent quarterback, here comes Nico Collins, and then they're almost reliable Dalton Schultz. There's a lot of pieces in that offense that made it work. It wasn't just C.J. Stroud putting on a red cape and coming to the rescue.
And personally, I think I'd rather have Robert Woods, who was non-existent last year, over Kendrick Bourne.
Right? Like, I'll take Xavier Hutchinson, the rookie. Yeah. Houston had more on the up, I think, than the Patriots have right now.
For sure. Hey, so I picked J.J. McCarthy to go there, but I did have them trading back with Arizona, getting 11 and 24, taking McCarthy at 11, still having 24 to do some damage. And that gives them the picks that or at least a additional pick and still get their quarterback. Because I think McCarthy most years would be one of the top quarterbacks out there. Although, I know Nino's saying he's a reclamation project. He's a guy that you got to train up a little bit. That's fine. It's not like the Patriots are going to win a lot next year anyway, so give him a year. I don't even mind if he sits behind Brissett, like whatever, give him a year. But you pick him at 11, you pick him 4th out of all the quarterbacks. You pick him 4th, like behind the other 3. at 11, it's not as much pressure as if you're picking guys at like 3. So I think it's not a bad move if they can make it happen. You know, if they get an extra third in there too, hey, that's great too. So that's what I had there. The other two quarterbacks, and we touched on them briefly, but you've got Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. You know, the other teams that need quarterbacks, all the teams that need quarterbacks, but the ones that are in these ranges, the Broncos, the Raiders, the Giants, the Vikings. Like, let's start with the Giants here because they paid Daniel Jones a bunch of money, which was a mistake. We all said it when they didn't pay Saquon, they paid Daniel Jones. And now potentially taking Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr. Is that an upgrade from Daniel Jones? Like, yeah, I guess. And it's a guy on a rookie deal, but you're still going to have to pay Daniel Jones a bunch of money not to play for you. Anybody here see the Giants take one of these two guys late first round and trying to get late first round, second round, something like that?
I don't see them taking late first round or second round. I don't think that they have the balls to pull the Denver Broncos. Like, they're not going to try and eat $36 to $46 million. They're just not going to do that. Again, another team with questions. Is Darren Waller playing football ever again? Right? Like, is that ever going to happen? So you might have to get a tight end, right? Who the hell is your wide receiver? One. I mean, Wandale Robinson can't stay healthy. Jalen Hyatt has been exposed as, being a product of Hendon Hooker and a very, very great Tennessee offense in college football. And then now Saquon's gone. Is it Eric Gray? Is it going to be what? Devin Singletary on his third team in 3 years? Like, there's so many questions. You can't afford to really go after a quarterback in that first round. But if
okay. Well, it's funny to me. You said Waller. Right? If Waller played for the Chiefs, he'd be playing this year. He's playing for the Giants, and he's like, I don't know if I want to come back for that.
Well, I think he seriously has health problems. Like, I don't think he's actually ever been healthy for the past 2-3 years. I think he's just played through it because he, said if he doesn't play that certain amount of games, he doesn't get all that contract money. There's levels to that, and he's trying to eat as well. But like I said, if Michael Penix is lingering in that middle to second round for New York, I think they might jump at that. Or if my guy Spencer Rattler's there, shining in the third round, like a neon light. Now Spencer Rattler, I don't think is ready to play week 1, and you roll out, the dummy and Daniel Jones for a couple weeks. But say week 7 or 8, if Tommy DeVito can win games in New York, my guy Spencer Rattler can win games in New York. And I'm not saying, out the gate, but I think if you give this kid a little bit of time, I think he could be a quarterback for New York Giants. He's definitely an NFL quarterback.
Now, I got to pass it to these other guys, but I do have to say, like, Tommy DeVito can win in New York when Saquon Barkley's there. Tommy DeVito couldn't win in New York. Tommy Cutlets, let's put some respect behind that name. Tommy Cutlets could not win in New York with Devin Singletary. Is that what we got there now? Like,
Eric
what are
Gray.
we doing? Yeah, I mean that's not a thing anymore. But David, where do you see Bo Nix, Mike Penix Jr.? Where do you see them going?
Between them,
and do you see success?
I mean, not right away, but that's more based on the teams I have them going to than anything else. But I mean, whichever one the Raiders get, I feel like has a better chance than whoever the Broncos get. But those are the two teams I have fighting for them right now. You never know with quarterbacks. For all we know, they could all go in the first round. I don't see it. I don't think they need to do that. Maybe trade into the back end just to get that 5th year, but I think they both go in the second. I like Spencer Rattler better than both of them. So,
hey, Jason, it's been a long
sir.
time since we got into an argument. Your Saquon Barkley take is poo-poo, my friend. Because in the games that Tommy DeVito was there, he had one game of over 80 yards. He had one game we had 14. He had a game we had 39. He had a game we had 46. Another game we had 46. Those are the elite numbers for a guy that's supposed to be carrying Tommy DeVito.
Hey, can I tell you what I see there?
What's
I see a defense focusing 100% on Saquon Barkley and not giving a crap what Tommy Cutlets does. Go ahead and go get it, Tommy, because we're gonna stack the box.
You gotta let this guy beat you.
We're gonna week
after week.
I will 100% let see if Tommy Cutlets can beat me over and over and over again and 100% focus on Saquon Barkley 100 times out of 100. And you know what? If I lose to that guy, I will drive to his parents' house and I will put the sauce on the cutlets myself because he went ahead and got me. But what I'm not doing is I'm not giving Saquon Barkley the opportunity. I mean, I get what you're saying. You're right. But, like, if I'm a defense, I'm 100, and I know that Tommy DeVito is going to be the quarterback, I'm 100% focusing on Saquon and just, like, letting Tommy be Tommy. Because most of the time I know I can beat that guy.
Right.
So,
I'll give you that. I'll give you that. But I'm just saying, Saquon wasn't cooking to give this guy all this free space in the world to do whatever he wanted.
DeVito was also playing without Darren Waller, and he had the Oompa Loompa kids out there at wideout whenever they were on the field. So I have to agree with Jason here. The defenses were completely focused on Saquon and said, let Tommy Cutlets and the Oompa Loompa kids beat us because that's the only chance in this earth they have. As far as Darren Waller goes, I think he plays this year, but I think he also wants to see what the Giants are doing in the draft. If I'm the Giants, I'm not taking a quarterback, like Nino said, in the first round or the second round. They have a ton of holes. They need offensive line help. Evan Neal has, they drafted him a couple years ago in the first round. That has really not really worked out. There's a couple of stud offensive linemen that should be going in the front of this draft. If Joe Alt is there, that's the guy I'm absolutely pulling the trigger on 100%. He's the best lineman in the draft. But let's not rule out the fact that there's 3 awesome wide receivers in this draft who, in any other draft, you can make an argument they're the best wide receiver in the draft. And really 2 of them, you can go back and forth and make an argument for saying, one's 1A and one is 1B. But I think they address the wide receiver position, and if they go line or if they go with the wide receiver, I think we'll see Darren Waller come back. If they do something stupid and draft a quarterback, if I'm Darren Waller, I'm like, dude, deuces, I'm just gonna file for retirement now. It's not worth it. My health is already questionable. I've got enough in the bank to where I can eat and eat comfortably. I'll go be an analyst somewhere where I can make a little bit of money for ESPN or Fox or I'll start a podcast or something like that. Like, it's just not worth putting my body through what I would have to put through playing in New York on that artificial turf that just ruins careers.
Yeah, I agree. I think they will, and we'll get into the other positions, but I think they desperately need one of the top 3 wide receivers, and they're in good position to get one of them at least, yep. Right? But before we get to the wide receivers, I purposely push them after the running backs because, we want you to stick around and listen to our wide receiver takes. So we're a little bit of behind the scenes planning there. You know how Justin likes to plan. I'm planning as well. So we're going to talk about the running backs. First one we've got on here is Jonathan Brooks from Texas. 4 of us, George, me, David, and Justin, all have the Cowboys. Nino, I don't have yours, so I'll start with you.
Yeah, I guess on chalk that would seem right? Like he stays in Texas, and I don't see a running back coming off the board until the 3rd round. I just really don't. I think there's too many teams that need line help. There's too many teams when you get to the 2nd round that once they figure out what they need, are going to need a defensive guy, whether it be edge or in the secondary. So it's like in the 3rd round, is Brooks going to be available to the Cowboys where they pick him? I don't know. I feel like a team like Tennessee might want to go back and get this kind of. They're going to need. I know that they signed Pollard, right, and I know that they signed Spears, but they're going to need a banger, right? A guy that can take over and be a legitimate, 15 to 18 carry back, which I think Jonathan Brooks can. And then these guys, Tony Pollard can't be the one. We saw him when he was the one, and me and George got in a big discussion about it. There were times that he was good. Most of the times he really wasn't good, and he was like 4.3 yards per carry. So I don't see that as a 1. I don't know if in Dallas the whole Rico experience helped him out and not, but like Now he's going to be with Tajay. I think they're kind of similar styles, where like those bang 'em flash type running backs. So it's like, is Pollard insurance policy for Spears in case he can't make the whole season, or if they know that Spears is only going to be somewhere around 100 to 150 targets or attempts, and we're going to have the other guy. You bring Brooks in there, and now you got a three-headed room, but a guy that can pass, bro, a guy that can keep Will Levis, upright. Doesn't matter what play it is or what down it's going to be. So I wouldn't rule out, someone like Tennessee, someone who, in that respect, is going to take them in the third. But when they have a higher pick, you're thinking about Dallas. They're going to be at the bottom end of the third round, where I think a running backs are going to go. I just don't think he'll be there at that time.
So I've been. Go ahead,
George. No, that's
so I've been saying Dallas is going to be taking Jonathan Brooks for a while now. I think they take him in the second round. I think they take him at pick 56. If he wasn't coming off the ACL tear, if that ACL was 100% through his senior year in college, like there'd be no doubt in my mind he'd be the best running back in this draft, and it wouldn't be close. But because you do have the ACL concerns and the injury concerns, I think he slips into the second round, where normally I think he might have been a back end of the first round running back without the ACL injury. So I think they take him. Yeah, I mean, look at what he was doing in college. He was fantastic his last year. The year before that, he was behind Bijan and behind Roschon Johnson. So yeah, he's not gonna. His college career is not that great, but he looked phenomenal. Yeah,
1 year and they're putting this guy in the first round.
Yes, back into the first.
He couldn't even beat out Jadon Blue as the RB3 the year that he was behind Bijan and Roschon Johnson.
Did he
I
beat
think
him
he's
out?
the best back in this class, but that
He
dude
is.
don't belong sniffing the first round. Running
Not
backs
this
don't
year.
belong sniffing the first round.
No, this year, no. If he was completely healthy, when
that's what they think about that take, George. That's what
You
they
got
think
George-
about that take.
You got
The
George so
internet don't
flustered.
lie.
I
Well,
was
George's
off on a
George's
tab. I
internet
thought you
don't
did
lie.
that to him on purpose.
All
right. All right. So here's my take on Jonathan Brooks real quick. I think it kind of reminds me of the Colts situation a few years ago with Jonathan Taylor. And I'm not saying that Brooks is anything like Jonathan Taylor. I'm not comparing them, but I'm just saying, like, I think that the Cowboys are desperate enough that we might see them go up into the second round and take Jonathan Brooks with their second round pick. If you combine the fact that they're desperate enough for a running back, it's not necessarily because of the talent or anything like that, but I mean, I do agree with George that when he's healthy, he probably is the best running back in this field. Problem with running backs is that they're a dime a dozen in the NFL. So that's why it makes sense that they would wait until the third. I just think if they wait until the third, then they're just getting one of that second, third, or fourth guy. I mean, but also they don't value running backs, right? If they valued their running backs, and they would have cared more about letting go of Zeke before he was done. They would have cared more about letting go of Pollard. So there's definitely a high possibility. I mostly just went Brooks because I was kind of going chalk here with the running backs.
Yeah, I don't know if you can say they don't care about running backs. They gave Zeke a giant contract. Yeah, they let him go before he was completely done, but it's not like he was the Zeke of old up in New England last year. He was good, not great. He was better than, I don't know, Rico Dowdle, I guess, but not for the money they were going to have to pay him. So, I get what you're saying, but they do value running backs. They just they find themselves in a position where they don't have a good one, which is why I think they do make the move, like you said. Second round is steep, but trades happen, so they trade back and get an extra pick. They trade up and get earlier third. Like, I think they figure out a way to make the move. Just because they don't have an early third doesn't mean they won't by the end of draft night. So I think they figure out a way to make a move. It's a guy I think they should go get. It's a Texas guy. It's chalk, like Nino says. So I like the idea of it. And I'd like to see it, but anyone who goes there is automatically going to be for fantasy going to be relevant, right? We expect that because their offensive line is good. We know they're going to want to run the ball. They don't have much else there. Rico Dowdle is not competition, so even on a bad rookie year coming in, just so you know, George is okay. His internet's out. He goes to the public library. They shut the switch off at around 9:50. So, anyway, so we're gonna get on to a couple of the other ones. We've got Jalen Wright. So George had the Steelers. David's got the Buccaneers. Justin and I have the Bills, and Nino has the Chargers. Justin, why don't you talk about the decision to send him to the Bills?
Yeah, I can make this real quick. For me, it's like from third and fourth round and on is where we're going to start seeing all these running backs come off the board, and it's really just a crapshoot of who likes who better, and not even necessarily who needs a running back more than the other, because like I said, they're kind of a dime a dozen. So what I did was I made a list of teams that I felt needed a running back bad enough to draft one, and then I had the list of running backs that you gave me on this list, and I just kind of threw a dart, and this is what happened. So there you go.
I love it.
That's actually not a bad theory. That's exactly what the only one that I had specific was Blake Corum to the Chargers. Every other one, I was just like, they need a running back. Here's a running back. They need a running back. Here's a running back. It's all going to come down to, what their preference is.
Yeah, I will say I kind of agree with the Corum thing, because Corum, I feel, is a little bit more well-rounded overall as a running back, and that's why I had him going to the Titans, because I feel like they need a little bit more versatility in that backfield other than the exact same running back that they have twice right now. So that's why I put Corum to the Titans. But honestly, there's like 3 other running backs there that could go to the Titans as well.
Well, I had Corum going to the Titans for the same reason, because he's a bigger dude. They need something different than what they've got with Tony Pollard and hey, George is back. Welcome back.
Thank you. I fucking computer.
Again, that's
Yeah, that's 2. That's 2.
I don't care. I'm gonna make it 3 if this computer keeps acting the way it is.
So luckily, he also lives. He's got the library on one side of his house. He's got a McDonald's on the other side, so he was able to just switch over connection.
Oh, boom. Perfect.
It wasn't even the Wi-Fi. Like, I sent Justin and Jason a photo of the message the laptop gave me. It just said it.
He got a blue.
Maybe it was my take was just too spicy, and it not only did it blow Nino's mind, but it blew the freaking laptop.
Spicy is another word for bad, I think, in this situation. So, Nino,
I got a question for you guys. Okay, I know I said most of the running backs will probably come off the round and off the board around the third, which is why I have Corum sneaking in. I have a funny feeling he's going to sneak in right at the very end of the second to a team who made a wild pick last year at running back, and the Detroit Lions. Because if you pair Blake Corum with Jahmyr Gibbs, I don't know how much Monty has in the tank. Okay, what's he got? 1 more year on that actual contract that Detroit gave him. I gave him a 2-year or a 3-year deal. Now you're bringing Corum. You got a guy that's got pop. You got a guy that's got wiggle. You have a guy that's a red zone threat. And then you could just let Jahmyr Gibbs play his natural role. Being that home run hitter, he can go out to the slot, right? He doesn't have to be worried about being a 3-down back because he doesn't really do good in pass pro. What can Blake Corum do? He can pass pro. Ask JJ McCarthy, right? So it's like that would be a sneaky little move there. And then the Chargers, right, coming down. I have Jalen Wright to the Chargers because I think that guy's going to be gone at that 6th spot in the 3rd. And who fits that Corum style role, like a poor man's version? Jalen Wright. This year was the first year he was able to be, exposure to having that receiving ability, but he's got wiggle, he's got power, he runs between the tackles, and he can run outside. And again, he has hands. They could flip-flop in this where they're supposed to go type landing spot due to Detroit coming in there and kind of throwing a monkey wrench in it, because Detroit doesn't really need a lot. They're at the luxury of where Philly was last year. They can do whatever the hell they want to do right now.
Right. Yeah, just best man on the big board.
And if running back Blake Corum fits their scheme better, boom.
So
yeah, we're Philly.
Montgomery's got a 3-year contract with them. He doesn't get out of his contract until 2026.
Okay.
What's up, Mike?
I still
what
don't
is
hate
the
it.
peanut? What's the money?
Let me see. His cap hit this year is 6.7. Cap hit next year is 7.12.
That's couch money, bro. That's couch money for NFL. They probably cut him.
Not at the running back position. It's not.
I'm just saying the dead cap hit in general, it's nothing. You're gonna have Blake Corum on a rookie deal. They could give a shit less about that.
Oh, there's 3.
Yep. Oh, that's not a swear.
I don't think that one counts.
I don't know if YouTube counts it or not, especially
It does-
coming out of Nino. It sounds so natural coming from Nino. It seems just like normal language.
Him talking about the millions he has in his couch.
I do have to say that we haven't heard a lot from David. It's almost like he has twins and his wife doesn't let him talk. So I'm gonna throw this to him because of the rest of the running backs on the list, which one do you like the most, and talk about their landing spot?
Oh, so it has to be on the list? Okay.
No, you can pick the next running back. I don't care. What's the next running back that you like? How about that?
He wants to talk about one for 2025.
That's fine.
Yeah, for a better running back class. No.
That'll probably be the next time his wife lets him talk.
That's possible. That's possible. No, on the list, I like Ray Davis, but I kind of I like where you said Jalen Wright is a lot like Blake Corum. I kind of feel like Ray Davis is as well. I watched them both at the combine, and it was like their path was similar. If they had showed them, and they did a few times running the same drills, they ran them exactly the same. Obviously, you can get Ray Davis cheaper than you can get Blake Corum. So if a team likes Blake Corum but don't feel like taking him early, snag Ray Davis and you'll be just fine.
So I've got Ray Davis going to the Buccaneers, my team, and it's mostly because Liam Cohen, the offensive coordinator for the Buccaneers, was the head coach in Kentucky. Some familiarity there. They had an interview with him. They've talked to him throughout the draft process. I'm not saying they're going to go up and get him, but I could see it. Buccaneers now have 2 third-round picks. That might be a little too rich, but they've got a late third-round pick that they got from Detroit when they traded a cornerback over there. And if they really like him, it's not a bad spot to grab a running back, so that it's not all on White again this year. Anybody have any other running backs they want to talk about before we move into the wide receivers? George, go ahead.
A pass catching back I actually would love in Detroit. Dylan Labe. Yes. That dude, remember that name. He reminds me so much of Darren Sproles. It's not even funny. You talk about a guy who is just a pass catching beast. I think he had something like 89 receptions last year, playing in small school in
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire, yes.
Isn't that an online school?
Yo, that dude's got hands, bro. He can catch a back shoulder fade like a wide receiver, and that's a fact.
Yeah, and
he's my favorite running back not named Blake Corum in this draft. So,
yeah, and he's fast. That dude is super fast.
I got one guy nobody's talking about, like literally nobody. I don't understand it. It kind of blows my mind. And this guy has Christian McCaffrey ceiling.
Is this your this year's Tyjae Spears?
Yeah, this is my year's Tyjae Spears. I'm going with Will Shipley out of Clemson.
Yep.
This dude is literally he could be your baby CMC. Okay, he's got 3 straight years in the ACC at Clemson, over 5 yards per carry. Right, had over 30 receptions all 3 seasons. He can catch, he can run. This dude can run between the tackles. He can run outside. Right, and guess what? He can pass pro. And he did it with a guy in Phil Moffitt breathing down his neck that averaged close to 5 yards per carry. If he didn't get hurt this year, his stock would be so much higher. But when he came back from the injury, I think it was a neck injury or a head injury, the dude still performed, still averaged 5 yards per carry. He runs in a place like Baltimore, someone who's physical. God forbid he's CMC's replacement. God forbid he lands in Philly. But watch out. People are going to be like, how did this guy end up in this landing spot? It's because people just go with, they like to scout the helmet, not the player. And Clemson wasn't good this year, right? And Will Shipley doesn't seem like that's super shifty back, but he is shifty. He can make you miss in a phone booth, but he also can get to the outside and burn you. And if he gets behind you, good luck, tackle him. He doesn't have that 4.4 speed, but he's got enough long speed where we can get away from you. That whole thing, that's quick, not fast. That's my guy.
I feel like Will Shipley is like the Spencer Rattler running back version.
Okay.
Somebody who fell off, and especially just because of this injury, everybody's forgetting him, because I was wondering about him just the other day. Like, where the heck is he in all this draft talk? I haven't heard a single person talk about him. I had to look it up to see if he was coming into the year or coming into the draft, and there he is. I'm actually, I don't know if we can have you back until after I do all my rookie drafts and snag them in the last round. Sniping me now.
Hey, I'm
So
making a mental note of all this, Nino, but I got to say, you kind of let me down last year, right? Like you got my hopes up on Tyjae and Will Levis, and I loved those guys, and then they both went to my rivals, the Titans.
I know.
So then I can't buy a jersey. I can't root for the guys because they play for the rivals. So hopefully I don't. I mean Shipley, like who knows? Like they still like we've been talking. They need that other type of running back, and who knows? Like Clemson is not too far away from home from Tennessee.
We gotta be real careful when Nino's talking about Shipley and Shifty, and the algorithm could catch that as it's close. And with that accent, it's close enough.
Absolutely.
We're gonna move past the running backs. We're gonna move into the wide receivers. Listen, has there been a better 1A, 1B wide receiver in recent history? Now, the crazy thing is, I have seen people not taking in mock drafts, not taking Harrison first of the wide receivers. I see Nino's finger going up. So, I've been doing it all night, but go ahead, Nino. We'll let you start with that because, but before we do that, does anybody else have Harrison 2, Neighbors 1? Anyone? All right, Nino, floor's yours.
Listen. I was just talking to Randall about on this one before, but the show before this. Marvin Harrison I'm not taking anything away from him. Okay, and he's probably gonna be a guy that every week gets up 6 or 7 receptions, puts up 75 to 85 yards, and every other game gets a touchdown. But when you go attribute to attribute, I just feel like Neighbors has a little bit more of that factor to him, right? When it comes to the contested catches, Harrison kind of takes it away a little bit. Neighbors don't give a shit. He'll go up there and fight you like a dog. When it comes to catch radius, Marvin Harrison may make it look wow. Neighbors ain't letting anything hit the ground. Neighbors ain't the diva. Neighbors is more than the deep threat. You're going to get those 60-yard touchdowns to Marvin Harrison. You're also going to get that 5-yard inland slant to Neighbors where it takes you to the cribbo. Like Neighbors has just a little bit more of the whole. Let me see. When you get the whole package and then you get that thing bonus sticker to it, like, and it ends up being like 10% off. Neighbors has the whole package with an extra bonus to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know it's 1A, 1B. If Marvin Harrison Jr.'s last name wasn't Harrison Jr., would you still put him at the 1A, 1B?
See, I think it's all being respectful because I have it as the 1A, 1B, 1C. I actually like Odunze better than both of them. In my opinion, they're going to be drafted Harrison, Neighbors, Odunze. But, I mean, for me, I like Odunze, Neighbors, and then Harrison. The only thing I like better about Harrison is he kind of feels quarterback proof. I mean, he just goes whatever quarterback's out there. Every year he had a different one, and he did just fine, looking great. Neighbors had Jaden Daniels throwing the ball, so
but last year Jaden Daniels wasn't good. Everybody was saying Jaden Daniels was going to get benched, right? And he still put up 1,000 yards. Marvin Harrison had the same quarterback outside of 1 year and Kyle McCord since he was 16 years old. They went to prep school together. But one quarterback besides Kyle McCord in 5 years. He ain't quarterback proof.
He had 3 quarterbacks just last year.
Wait, what do you mean? He had Kyle McCord the whole time.
They switched him around at the beginning. And
Devin Brown threw the ball 6 times and ran it more than he actually threw the ball. Mr. Burn the boats. But you got Odunze 3? I don't even have him in my top 3. I think Brian Thomas Jr. is better.
I like Thomas Jr. I think he's closer to the top 3 than he is to the 5 spot.
I agree. You're a smart guy. I like this guy.
All right, so landing spots. Which is the best landing spot for the top of these guys? Is it the Cardinals? Because I think Cardinals are. That's the rumor is Harrison Jr. there. You got Kyler Murray, and not a lot else there to throw the ball to. Yeah, McBride's okay. He's going to soak up a lot of targets, but I think the tight end will just open up some spots for a number 1 wide receiver. So I don't see that as competition in an offense.
No. And I think too, if Marvin Harrison does go there, then I really like Michael Wilson as a wide receiver too. Like I think he's solid. I think he's underrated. I think he's going to have a really huge jump this year if they get that solid wide receiver one. So hopefully they don't trade out or do anything stupid with it. But yeah,
I agree with Justin there. I think both Arizona and the Chargers have no choice but to take a receiver. They have nobody. They have no room. There's nobody in the room.
Listen, but look at the receiver class this year. It's so deep, and you have Harbaugh there. Harbaugh loves to run the ball. This is why it's my favorite spot for them to be the ones that trade back with the Vikings. Take J.C. Latham at 11, and then snag any wide receiver they want at 23.
But that's not. Wait. So wait a minute. We just talked about how after the top 4 who aren't going to be there at 23, you need a 1. Those guys aren't 1. If they draft Xavier Worthy as the
they don't
1,
need a run. Look at what he did at Michigan. They didn't have a 1 the whole time. They just ran the ball, and that's what he's going to do again.
This isn't college, my friend. This is a whole different ball game, right? When he tried to run last time, yeah, he made it to the Super Bowl off a gimmick, but they got smoked. The lights literally got turned out on them with him and Colin Kaepernick in the Super Bowl, right? Like I don't think that they're going to be as this 65% run as everybody thinks they're going to be. Justin Herbert has one of the best arms in football. Like you're going to go and strip him down from 2 wide receivers that spread the field to give him nothing. Like if they get a Donnie Mitchell,
I'll give him J.C. Latham so he can stay upright, and then I'll give him a Donnie Mitchell at 23.
Who? Listen, I can say this because my kid has diabetes. Then if he doesn't get that shit in check, he's screwed. He might not even get drafted in the first 3 rounds. Like that's not something to joke about.
Can we start using the word Shipley instead of
okay?
they don't get that Shipley in check.
Yeah, exactly right. Then we can sell it.
Yeah, this is the question of the night right here. By Rich.
Down below there, Nino.
Hell's freezing over, my friend.
All right, so Marvin, we've got the Cardinals, the Chargers, the Bears, potentially the Giants. What landing spots do you want for these 3? I'll start with George because George hadn't talked so much since he had to move out of the library.
So, I have Harrison going to the Cardinals. I think they're the first group of teams that actually don't need a quarterback. So unless they do trade back, yeah, they're definitely taking a wide receiver. That's the biggest hole they have on their team. I think Marvin Harrison is probably the best wide receiver in this class. So I have him going to Arizona. I would love to see Malik Neighbors end up in New York. They desperately need wide receiver help. So I like Malik Neighbors. And then I have Romaduzzi going to Indianapolis, actually, to the Colts. I think the Colts pair him with Anthony Richardson, put him on the opposite side of Michael Pittman. You got Jonathan Taylor in the backfield. You've got yourself some weapons now on that offense that is desperately in need of some more weapons. So that's where I've got the big quote unquote 3 wide receivers going. But I do have a question. Is this draft class, does it have for the top end wide receivers? Does this rival the draft class of 1996, which it was considered one of the best draft classes in NFL history? That had Keyshawn Johnson, Marvin Harrison, Musan Muhammad, and Terrell Owens. Highlighting that class. I think this class is just as good potentially, or if not, can go down as being even better at the wide receiver position than that class.
Can I say that? Would this be a hot take to say that they're better along going into the NFL than all 4 of those gentlemen were when they went into the NFL?
No, I don't think that's spicy at all. I think that's accurate.
Yeah, because if you look at that list, like Keyshawn Johnson was number 1. Terry Glenn was actually the second wide receiver at 7. And then the next one was 18 at Eddie Kennison. So, I mean, Marvin Harrison wasn't until 19 for the Colts, which I do have to admit, I met Marvin Harrison the preseason before his rookie year on the field after a preseason game. I got to go down on the field and meet the players. I shook his hand, and just from watching him play, and I was a senior in high school, just from watching him play during warm-ups and at practice and during that preseason game, I shook his hand and said, dude, one of these days you're going to be a Hall of Famer. And he looks at me and he says, dude, right now I'm just trying to make the team. And that was all he said. Is all he said to anybody. He turned around and walked off.
Yeah, look, could it be? Sure, but one of these guys could be Carlton Davis, right? Like, we don't know. We don't think so. We didn't think Carlton Davis would be Carlton Davis. So yeah, it could be. But before we throw him like some Hall of Famers, some of the greatest of all time's name behind it, like, I want to see him on the field first. So that kind of questions for like mid-season when they're all lighting up the NFL. But really, like, my problem is, so we've got Harrison maybe going to the Cardinals, and then we're talking about Neighbors going to the Giants, and then we want to compare them. But the tough part is, one team's got Kyler Murray throwing him the ball, and the other team's going to have Daniel Jones or, Bo Nix or Tommy Cutlets or whoever throwing him the ball with a bad offensive line, especially if they end up going Neighbors here early in the first round. So, like, it's going to be tough to compare them depending on landing spot. David, where do you have I don't think we've asked yet, Neighbors and Dunze going?
I have Neighbors going to the Giants as well, and I have a Dunze going to the Bears.
So
I'm a little. We had I did a mock draft the other day on a different podcast, and Dunze actually fell to, like, I don't know, I think 17th with the Jaguars. Really, that was just because all of the teams that I happened to be drafting for weren't quarter or wide receiver needy, because I like Odunze, like I said. But I just think the Bears, if they're trying to set up their quarterback for all this success, they're either going to take a tackle with that spot, trade back, or if Odunze's there, I think they have to consider it.
I do. I think they do. I think they should take a wide receiver. Yeah, it's a deep wide receiver class. I think they likely do that later and take a tackle. That would be what I do when you go and spend the money you did on Keenan Allen and then DJ Moore last year. So I think year 1 and 2 is set, and yes, you need to look towards the future. But I think, again, with this wide receiver class being so deep and having other needs and wanting to keep your young quarterback upright, sure, a third wide receiver. To me, a good third wide receiver is a luxury that they can't afford at this moment. And honestly, like, from a fantasy perspective, I wouldn't be a fan of one of the big three going there either, because, you've already got Keenan Allen, you've already got DJ Moore, and how often does a rookie quarterback sustain 2 guys, let alone 3? So from a fantasy standpoint, like, that would be a killer, especially this first year. Now, again, Keenan Allen's long in the tooth, DJ Moore, who knows how long he's got left in the tank. So yeah, you'd want somebody, but I think, like, that's one of these other guys we're going to talk about, and maybe not the top 3. But again, I can see it, because why not? If the Bears have been doing a great job at, like, stacking some of these picks, so maybe they think they can take that luxury. I wouldn't. I'd grab one of these great offensive linemen, because we're not talking about the offensive line in this, because we're talking about the skilled position players. Man, this is a great offensive line draft, and they have needs all over the place. So, like, I think
I do
take advantage.
Yeah. I mean, with only 4 picks, trade back out of that 9th spot. I know they don't want to, because that's you can get a prime player there. But if you trade back in this class with these wide receivers and these tackles, you can get both of those spots later on. Neither one of them is going to be a a Dunze level, but you could still get quality at both positions later on.
I don't like. Listen, I know Joe Alt's the premier tackle, but, like, there are some guards in this that they're not Joe Alt as a tackle's a higher skilled position basically than guard, or more regarded. But, like, man, Barton, great guard in this. Jackson Powers Johnson, great center / guard. Like, I think those guys are as good at their position as Alt is at his, and so I think like, trade back, and I know Nino's making a face, but I think you trade back and get one of those guys, you're going to be just as happy. Go ahead, Nino.
I can't see a straight guard. Now, Alt can play center and guard, and Powers can play center and guard. So it's like a true guard. I can't see one going in the first round. And I love Christian Mahogany, and I love Haynes out of UConn. I just don't think they're going to go in the first round. The way that they don't value the running back.
But you're what I'm getting at. Most of the a lot of the tackles going in the first round are going to play guard in the NFL, right? Like we're not talking about like guards playing guards, but like a lot of these tackles that are going to get drafted in the first round, they're going to get moved. They're not going to play tackle. They'll play a guard in the NFL, and that happens a lot.
I don't think Fashanu. I don't think Latham. I don't think Fuga. I don't think Mims or even Fatana out of Washington. Those guys aren't playing guard. They're all going to play tackle. Whether it's right or left, those guys are literally walls to protect your franchise. The guy that you need to keep up with, so he doesn't get blindsided. I don't see them guys. I think there'll be 7 in the first round line, like offensive tackles going in the first round. And I think they're all tackles. I don't think any of them guys play guard. Your guy, Barton, yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, if Miami drafts Barton, he's going to play guard. And the reason why is because they have Teron Armstead at left tackle, and they got Austin Jackson at right tackle. But what they will do is play him at guard this year, and then next year when Teron Armstead is no longer on the team, then they will move him to tackle. But I have to agree with Nino. These tackles, especially the ones going in the first round, none of them outside of maybe the ones going if Miami drafts Barton are going to be playing guard in the NFL. They are all true tackles.
You said none of them. I wish Rival could make a bet with that, but we won't.
Hey, we've got our in-house toilets bet.
The wall bet, yeah.
UConn Jack is hitting me, so I can't remember the name of it right off the top.
it's they're all 6'6" or bigger.
Bathroom boards.
Those guys are the guys that you want protecting your quarterback. The guys that are 6'3", 6'4", that's the cutoff. I think it's like 6'4". That's when you're kind of drifting into the guard role. You want to be that guy that can get off the line explosive to push going forward. Like the 6'6", 6'7" guy, the Mims, the 6'7", 6'8" dudes. Those guys are just a brick wall to stop your quarterback from getting blown up.
All right, so there was some bonus offensive line talk. We still got a couple wide receivers to get through, and then 1 or 2 tight ends. Go ahead, Justin.
So I was gonna say before you guys lost me with all the offensive line talk, because you guys know I only worry about the fantasy football guys. That's just my brain. I do want to mention that we did a in-house Toilets and Titles community mock draft. We've been doing it every week for the last. I bet David probably thinks it's been the last 7,500 weeks in a row. But this past week, I got to draft for the Colts again for the first time since the first one, and I made a pretty ballsy move there where we jumped up. I'm sure ballsy's okay. I don't know that I need to say that I made a Shipley move, but anyway, I made a ballsy move where the Colts actually traded out of that 15 up to the 3, and they had to give away the house. I forget who had the Patriots, but I think it might have been Taco Jones, but we were going back and forth for a while, and he made me give up everything to make it happen. Unfortunately, Chris Ballard does not have those kind of stones, but I would absolutely love to see the Colts be able to trade up and bring Harrison back home to Indy and let him have an opportunity to put his name up in the ring with it right next to his dad. That would be absolutely wonderful. Obviously, that's why I asked you earlier if the doc, the show notes doc, was about where we want to see them go or where we realistically think that they're going to go.
So this was your Ricky Williams New Orleans draft. Then
there you go.
Giving up everything. I would say, if they gave up their whole draft pick for one guy, and look, it's a great guy, and don't get me wrong, but it would be a Shipley move to do that. I think that's got to stick. We got to figure out how to make that stick. All right. So we have Brian Thomas Jr. next. George got the Jets. David's got the Chargers. Justin and I have the Steelers. And I'm just going to be honest, because I like Brian Thomas. I do think he's closer to the 3. I know David said it already. I put 17.5 in the show doc because, and then George, now McDonald's is closed. So I've got the gambling Vegas has 17.5 as the over under. And
okay, we should
George
be good.
For a minute.
Yeah, well, I think his sound is. You had both of them pulled up at once at one point, so you're good now.
Yeah, I was trying to close down the phone. The computer finally rebooted on me.
All right, so Vegas has got 17.5 picks as the over-under, and the Steelers just happen to pick right behind that. So that's why I picked the Steelers, because I think a couple picks later, they're the first ones that could use a wide receiver to be opposite of Pickens. So I picked the Steelers. But David, tell me why you've got Thomas going to the Chargers, and where they'd have to trade back up, right?
I don't think so. I've seen so many mock drafts lately where, after the first three, it becomes a tackle and defensive cornerbacks draft, and the wide receivers are coming in just at the end of the first round. So, I mean, if they're still at 23, I've seen Brian Thomas not go till 28, 29. So, it all depends on the teams above them, obviously. And I don't get my hopes up that the Steelers are going to draft the first round wide receiver. We don't do that. We draft the second round wide receiver who turns into a stud. I'll take a center in the first round or a tackle.
Justin, why don't you talk about him actually going to the Steelers, since that's where you got him?
Yeah, no, I think that's the right spot for him, and I think that he was the next best up on my board whenever for wide receivers when I have the Steelers up, and I feel strongly that the Steelers need a wide receiver right there to go on the other side. They're not bringing back Chase Claypool from the Canadian Football League anytime soon, so it just seems like a good for me. What's that?
You mean Mapletron?
Yeah.
Well, listen. I heard last year that guy was a vending machine. That was from George's team.
From this guy.
No, it was from his team. I think I want to say Tyreek Hill said he was a vending machine. I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know what that was in reference to. He
must have been eating a lot of snacks.
He called him a vending machine because he said there were so many options that you could do with him. So he was comparing it to the vending machine where you have all the different options. You got chips, you got candy,
all the options you could
right next to the water.
No, you bench him, practice squad, cut him. All the options were available.
We did all the above. We did all the above. We reached out for every option. We traded for him. We played him. We cut him. We practice squatted him. We've done all of it. We did all the options in the vending machine.
I'm sorry, Jason. I didn't know bringing up Chase Claypool was going to get us off on a tangent. My bad.
That's all right. It's. I mean, I feel like with this group, literally anything we say, we'll take it off on a tangent, and that's fine because you know what? We're having a good time. We've got 65 people watching. Everybody's laughing. We're having a good time. It's draft week. We can talk about whatever we want. Nino, go ahead and talk about Brian Thomas.
So I said it before. He got into his legal issues. And once he hit the legal issues, it pretty much solidified it for me. I could see Kansas City taking, the 131 or maybe 95 and package that and going up to that 23 to 26 spot to go in and get their guy to solidify that wide receiver one position in Brian Thomas Jr. I mean, he would be the perfect fit for Patrick Mahomes. You got the deep threat. You got the guy you just put it to a spot. He can go up and get it. He's physical. He actually has a decent route tree. I'm not talking about, he doesn't have Justin Jefferson route tree, but he doesn't have a DK Metcalf route tree. So, like I said, there's so many traits that he has where I have him in that top four. But I think because of the way this draft is going to fall, you're going to get that offensive lineman, secondary run. And then people are forgetting about maybe a little edge and linebacker in there because those guys are needed. There's a chance he's in that 23 to 25, 26 realm. And it's really not out of the world to them to package that, like I said, that 90-something or that fourth-round pick. Because, listen, with the way everybody's going back to college for the NIL, for the bag, the 5th, the 6th, the 7th-round picks, you're going to see a shitload of those, Shipley a load of those, put together, right, and packaged to get to the 4th. I'll give you my 2 5ths, right, and whatever, to get into the 4th, or I'll give you my 4th and a 5th. To get up into a higher 4th-round pick or into the latter end of the 3rd. And for that reason alone, what's to say that, the Jets don't do something? I know I saw George had the Jets there on the dock earlier. I know that they have 10. They're obviously not drafting Brian Thomas at 10 because they need other things. But that 72, you package that with one of them later picks, you know what I'm saying, and try to or maybe a future pick. The window's small with Aaron Rodgers. So that 26 first, or maybe that 25 first, wherever it may be, you might want to package that to get, with a later pick to get up there and go get, a guy to solidify that room. Yes, you have Mike Williams. I like Mike Williams, but he hasn't played a full season in 2 years, right? Garrett Wilson needs a guy. Brian Thomas on the side of him would make Aaron Rodgers very, very happy, especially when you have Breece Hall in the backfield.
Well, it would be something considering all the years Aaron Rodgers was in Green Bay. They never went out and got him a first-round guy, right?
That comment, that was just up on the screen.
Yeah,
you can't judge the Alabama game on Brian Thomas Jr.'s full career at college football, because 3 of those guys at Alabama are going to go in the first 2 rounds in this NFL draft. That physicality thing right there, that's an Alabama thing. That don't fly in my world, my man. Let's check out the other 12 games about his physicality.
So you want to go back and check out the games where he's not playing NFL caliber defensive backs?
No, he just played the best defense in the country outside of Georgia for second. Kool-Aid McKenzie and Terry Arnold are possibly top 45 picks in this draft. What about the other SEC caliber team that he turned around and dropped his pants on? We forget about those?
Yeah,
Alabama has top tier.
Not every team in the SEC has 2 cornerbacks who can go in the top 35, 40 picks. Like that. That's ridiculous. That's just ridiculous. No, don't judge it off that one game.
We here at Toilets and Titles are cool with us talking about people pulling their pants off. Just make sure you're using it in the right Shipley comments.
Yes.
Or context.
It's all the bathroom. It's all about the bathroom.
So
hey guys, I hate to dip out early, but it is twin feeding time. We ran a little long tonight, longer than what I anticipated.
Sorry.
So no, it's all good. I've loved the entire thing. You can ask these guys. Normally we run over every time, and I'm cool with it, but twins demand daddy comes feeds one of them.
Absolutely.
So I'll catch you guys next time, and hope everybody has a good draft day.
David,
Thanks,
I didn't
man.
know you were still breastfeeding, but I'm go get it.
Listen, they're getting sore and stuff. It's terrible.
Kudos. Yeah.
They make lotion for that stuff, for the chafing.
Don't forget the pads.
Guys.
Have a good night, David. Thank you.
I don't know what the definition of off the rails is, but I think we've hit it.
We have for sure hit it tonight. But
Hey,
that's what the round table's for.
We need
Yes,
to
sir.
order him. We need to order him some leak pads and ship them to
Jesus.
him just with his name on it, not his wife's.
You've
That
got
would be
his-
phenomenal.
You've got his address, right? I'll do it.
I do.
I can get it. There we
All
go.
I got it.
There we
I
go.
can send it to you.
You guys are terrible.
All right, we do. I don't have kids to go feed, but we do have to move this along because it'll be draft night if we continue this, as long as we're going. So
Here's the problem on this doc. Like, we only listed 5 wide receivers. The problem is this class is literally about 12 to 15 wide receivers deep.
Yeah.
That we could have done a whole show on just the wide receivers in this class, because it's this class, the second and third round wide receivers that you're going to be able to draft in this year is going to be just phenomenal. It's like chef's kiss. There's so many talented wide receivers in this class.
absolutely. All right. Oh, it's gonna be a slug. We're gonna get through this, I promise. But I feel like people are enjoying it. We've got a nice amount of viewers right now. We just lost the nice amount, but we gained one, so that's fine. As long as they're going up and not going down from that number, we're good. Look, we got Mitchell next. I'm not going to pretend I learned how to pronounce the name yet. I've heard it multiple times and now have forgotten, and I'm not going to do it wrong. So Nino, go ahead.
I thought that's why you had Nino on here.
Adonai Mitchell.
That's what I thought. But so all 3 of us, the 3 of us that are left, have them going to the Bills. Nino, do you have something different? What do you got?
No, I think that's actually not a bad landing spot. I mean, he could replace that role with Gabe Davis, with no problem.
I could give you 0 fantasy points half the weeks. Like that. That's no problem. Anybody could do that.
Listen, I'm not a Gabe Davis. The Jaguars got faith in him, right? They just gave him a bag, so I don't know. But I think that they need a weapon over there. They need something outside of Khalil Shakur and the 2 tight ends that they have, because Diggs is gone, Gabe Davis is gone. Josh Allen if you don't get him a weapon, he might be gone. So I don't really know what they're going to do there. I don't know if Adonai Mitchell is going to be your wide receiver 1, though. That's my thing. And I also, the diabetes thing is real, bro. That is going, the way he handles himself, it's a health concern. The way he handles himself could get this dude dropped down to the 3rd, 4th round.
So does he handle himself differently than like Mark Andrews or something? Like
he doesn't take care of his sugar at all. Doesn't test himself. They said that when his sugar is off the rails, he's irritable. He's on the bench giving people attitude. Doesn't want to work out. When he's on the sugar under control, this dude is cutting like a maniac. He's the best teammate in the world.
Gotcha.
So a team drafting him is pretty much what they're saying is they have to assign a doctor to him to monitor him. Is that something you want to risk?
Not with early draft capital, like you get a big Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde with him. When his sugar is not there, like it's real bad. I mean, really, really bad. There was a couple of times they even thought about kicking him off the team because he's just that kind of person when his sugar's out of control. When his sugar's under control and he's monitoring it right and he's taking care of himself, best teammate you could ask for. He would probably be up there, as probably the wide receiver 4 in this class. We've got him. I think that's where we have him listed on the list. I don't really have him in as a top 5 wide receiver in this class personally, but he would be up there if his sugar and he took care of himself. But the problem is he doesn't. He absolutely does not.
Somebody needs to get that guy on the keto diet and
just get him the pump like Mark Andrews. He's got the pump attached to him, and he has the iPhone watch where like he can monitor it on its own. Like the pump instantly puts the insulin in when he needs it and regulates it.
I love this comment. Hey, absolutely. Nailed it. Nailed it.
That's good stuff right there. But yeah, I mean, someone get him in touch with Mark Andrews, and this kid could have really good stock in the NFL.
Yeah, he'd have a hell of a career.
All right, so I've got Ladd McConkey next here. George has got the Bengals. David and I had the Chiefs because we needed the Chiefs. If the Chiefs don't trade up and they're back where they are. And then Justin's got the Bills. So, Justin, talk about the Bills with Ladd.
Ladd McConkey is a guy that I've thoroughly enjoyed watching the film on because you guys know I'm late to the game every year in college football. I always wait. I start watching film pretty much like 2 months before the draft starts. I'm your typical redraft fantasy guy. I'm that guy that nobody likes, but I just think he's a good fit. I like. They obviously need a wide receiver now that they're losing they lost Diggs, and that seems like the right spot for me, late 1st round. So maybe early 2nd round, but the Bills aren't in the early 2nd round. So I'm going to say he's going to go late 1st.
Nino?
I'm going to say New England. I like him at the top of the 2nd round to New England. I think that nobody's going to really take that 1st round take on him due to health concerns. Back-to-back years, being legs. Like, he hasn't played a full season. When it comes to being, route running and a technician, this dude's probably the best one in the whole class. Yep. I mean, nobody's out working him. Nobody's out. His feet are absolutely. Sometimes it's like floating the way he moves. But I got concerns in the 1st round taking a guy that's been out back-to-back years and missed. Yes, you look at it, he says played 11 games for Georgia. How many quarters that we got adding up? Like, he was in the game, but he only played like 1 quarter, or he was in the game and he played the 2nd half only. Like that matters. They're not putting that down in the stat sheet. They're going to tell you played 11 games, but there was a lot of games where he was just half the time he was playing, or he was just dressed and only went in there for a few snaps due to the health concerns. So that's my problem. I think in the 2nd round at 34 or 36, whatever maybe the Patriots have, I don't think that's a bad move for them, especially if they do go out and get the quarterback. That's what they're going to go do, right? Now you're giving a kid that can get open, can create his own separation if he's got to throw the ball in less than 3 seconds because his O-line sucks. So I don't see Ladd at the top of the 2nd being a bad pick for the Patriots if they do stay at 3 and pick that quarterback.
Yeah, I think he's a pretty decent quarterback in the 2nd if you do get that guy in the 1st. I think that's not a bad call at all. Again, trading sense. Out, it does.
There's something else that makes sense about this because Nino likes the guy, and he's going to go to another team I hate in the Patriots. or I like the guy. Another guy that I like is going to go to a team that I hate.
So I had him going to the Bengals. I struggled with him because I wanted to put him at New England, because that is a perfect spot for him. Problem is, I didn't want to do the whole white wide receiver narrative to New England. I feel like that just kind of writes itself.
Yeah.
But he's not a slot receiver. That's the thing. Like he is a route running machine. Like his route tree is absolutely phenomenal. His hands are absolutely phenomenal. The issue is, as Nino said, he'll start a game. He probably ain't going to finish it for you.
Right.
Not the last couple of years. He ain't, at least, but he's definitely going to start it for you. The injury concerns, I think, push him out of the first round. To be honest, I think somebody will love him enough to probably even trade up into the beginning of the second round to get him. Is what I think.
So you think he goes to Cincinnati because T. Higgins sucks?
Well, no, I actually think there's going to be a draft day trade with T. Higgins.
I agree.
Gotcha.
I think there'll be a draft day trade for T. Higgins. I think they will get a second round pick for him from somebody, and then they will move up to get Ladd to replace him.
Okay, then now I agree with you.
So here's what I got. I got the Bengals trading T. Higgins to San Francisco for Ayuk. Call it done.
San Francisco's not doing that.
No, T.
No,
Higgins,
I know.
he don't fit that scheme. He don't fit that scheme whatsoever.
I'm joking. I'm joking about you guys that went out.
I'll call him dumb.
Hey, I like the whole T. Higgins trade for a second.
Yep.
And then they go get my guy.
Yeah,
Troy
Jason
Franklin.
cheaply.
Because I think Troy Franklin fills in for that T. Higgins role and is a perfect complement to Jamar Chase. You got that burner, right? You can go down.
That was the last. That was the last guy we were going to talk about in the wide receivers because I have to cut it off somewhere so we don't go all night. And so Franklin going to the Bengals with T. Higgins going out of town.
Yeah, I just feel that fits because they're also going to lose Boyd, right? So now you're going to get this guy that you're going to get on cheap money. You figure out what you're going to do. You got two receivers you drafted last year late that you can kind of figure out if they can be your three and Charlie Cecil-Jones or the best hair in the game, Andre Isalofis, right? One of them guys could be your three. But Troy Franklin's going to be the guy that's perfect for Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase can get his. I'm open every freaking play. Cool, you are. That's fine. But now you're going to get a guy that's going to draw defenses in that single high safety away because he's a burner and he can get downfield, right? And he's got good hands. So that single high safety is not going to be able to cheat every play to Jamar Chase. He's going to have to roam back and forth, and he's going to get caught a lot.
Go ahead, so Andre Yosevich is a man that's gotten us like thousands and thousands of comments and likes and views on TikTok, and almost all of them are from the females. But anyway, so I just want to throw out and appreciate you, Andre. But I think that they do not take a wide receiver this year. They put Higgins on that franchise tag. Maybe we see a draft day trade. I can agree with all that. But I think they're holding out for the ultimate compliment to Jamar Chase in Justin Jefferson. I think we're going to see a huge blockbuster. Yes, we're going to see them both on the same team with Joe.
Is Joe Burrow taking? Is Joe again?
I don't know who did
that. The internet kicked his ass out of here, dude.
I don't know who did that.
I'm telling you guys. I'm telling you, you're gonna see it.
How can they afford that with Burrow's contract and Jamar Chase's contract that is loading? There's no way that they could afford.
Why do you think they don't want to? Why do you think they don't want to give T. Higgins the contract extension? They can't afford him. They don't want Justin Jefferson, who's the better wide receiver, more money.
They want to save that money for a real wide receiver. I'm telling you, you're gonna see it. You're gonna see it in 2025. It's going to happen because the cap isn't real. We know this. The cap is fake. Nino, they will find a way.
Nino, you know what happened, right? You know what, Nino. You know what happened,
kicked in. UConn Jack kicked in.
No. I've been thinking about this for a few years now. It's going to happen.
Nino, what happened is Justin. I said Justin Jefferson. I just meant Justin up here.
Same thing.
He got Madden. And so he's now the Cincinnati Bengals, and he's making trades on Madden. Like, yeah, I could do this in the NFL too. That'll work.
Gotcha.
That's what it is.
Joe Burrow's in the background going, "Yeah, get this guy as my GM. Yeah, bring him on."
You want to talk about off the rails? This is definition of off the rails.
Until it happens,
said
and then
some
you all are going to
spicy-
be like, "Oh, maybe we should actually listen to Justin once in a
What
while."
if it doesn't?
Hey.
Then what do we do?
Hey, you know what?
No,
then
we
it's
just
gonna be
we
like all the
continue
other
not listening to
analysts that you see
Justin.
on TV. It's going to be like all the other analysts that you see on TV where they throw out all these astronomical things because if it doesn't happen, it's like, yeah, well, it was just astronomical. I was just talking anyway. But if it does, we look like geniuses.
Yeah, that'll be a clip we put out over and over again if it actually happens. We're just gonna I'm gonna give you the people listening to the show a little behind the scenes. What will actually happen is we will have to go, okay, what show did Justin say that on? One of us will have to watch all the shows to find it. We'll finally find it. We'll put it out there. And that's how that's going to work. Somebody's going to be like, find that hot take from Justin.
We lost about 9 viewers on that one, so I should probably just shut up now.
actually, we gained 4 viewers back after you said it, so we're good.
Hey,
you know what?
Nino, you know what else Cincinnati's going to do? They're going to trade Joe Burrow to the San Francisco 49ers in exchange for Brock Purdy and Brandon Ayuk. And then they're going to have Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and Brandon Ayuk. I can see it now.
That doesn't make any sense.
Brock Purdy
can't
Brock Purdy will just throw the ball to the ground because he can't throw it past 35 yards.
Hey, but for real, I am very concerned about Joe Burrow's injury. That injury is legitimately worrisome to me. Yeah, his ability to throw the ball with power is going to drop drastically. This isn't an injury that we see very often in football. That wrist injury is legit. Like, I'm very concerned about that. Just being real about that. Just throwing it out there. We're talking fantasy football possibilities. I know we're talking draft, but like, it is a concern of mine that Joe Burrow moving forward isn't going to be the Joe Burrow we've seen in the past.
If you're concerned about Joe Burrow's wrist, then I'm concerned about Justin Herbert's finger. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, there was some news about that earlier. Well, there was some news about that on Twitter today about him not being ready for OTAs after a surgery he had. So we didn't talk about it at the top. We didn't talk about it at the top because I literally only saw one tweet on it, and I didn't want to get too into it until we knew it was legit. But yeah, there is some stuff out circling around out there. But look, all he's going to be doing is handing the ball off anyway.
Well, Minnesota gave a call, I heard. This is what I read. Minnesota gave the Chargers a call, offering the 2 firsts plus, but the Chargers can't clear the medicals yet.
Yeah.
That's a concern to me. You're going to draft night, and you got a quarterback whose medicals aren't cleared yet. Is he going to be ready?
That was a question that Rich brought up earlier, too, so I'm glad you guys addressed that. I hadn't seen anything on it, so I didn't want to bring it up then.
There's talk about it. I think we mentioned, and this will be, if it does happen, this will be a situation where we have to go back and look at it, because I think George and I talked about the potential for Herbert getting traded when they brought him in, because new head coach, need their own new guy, probably get 3 or 4 first-round picks for a quarterback like that. If he's healthy, if he can clear the medicals, you're going to get the 2 for the Vikings, maybe 1 next year for a guy like Herbert. Make Justin Jefferson happy, start fresh, in Los Angeles there. It's not impossible. But what the thing we talked about is, like, why would you take that job if it wasn't for Justin Herbert? Like, why would you take the Chargers? It's not like they had anything else, and you let their wide receivers go. So why do you other than hanging out in LA, which might be the thing you want to do, why do you take that job if it's not for Herbert?
Because you're gonna get suspended for the whole year in Michigan.
Yeah, that's a good point.
He couldn't get the contract. The contract was he wanted absolution from Michigan, no matter what else came down the pipeline. That if they got more suspensions or more fines, that he wasn't going to get in trouble. And they were like, "Yeah, we're not signing that deal."
But you're right. If Michigan was his only offer, but the Falcons would have given him a job. There's lots of places that would have given him a job. He picked LA, and that's the only reason why. I don't know that Herbert has.
Last year he was the hot commodity too, but Minnesota told him to kick rocks after we walked into the building, and they needed a head coach.
Yeah, hey, you're right. He maybe a bad interview with an attitude. He didn't get along with the GM when he was in San Francisco. So
exactly,
possible. All right, I'm gonna cut it down to 1 tight end because it's already 1 hour and 40 minutes in.
Jesus.
Yeah. So Brock Bowers, guys,
Who?
Brock.
Where do you think he's going?
The Colts.
I hope so.
I got
man,
the
I hope
Colts.
so.
I
I got the Colts too.
I think he's the perfect weapon for that offense. You add him to a run game, a ground and pound game. Like I said, a tight end is Linus blanket, the safety blanket to every quarterback, to a mobile quarterback coming off an injury. Brock Bowers. I mean, that's just perfect. It fits a play action game, the short and intermediate game. This is a guy that eats. And what happens now? Now you're freeing up. There's a possibility if they draft Bowers, that Josh Downs could be the best slot guy this year because he's going to be going against a linebacker or a third string DB. I think the fact that the smoke they're putting out there that Indy's interested in trading up, that's not smoke. I think that's legitimate. Bauer doesn't mess around. He lets it known what he wants, and he attacks who he wants, and that's it.
Yeah, only one time in his career as a GM has he actually traded up a decent amount in the first round, and that was to the 11th overall pick to get Pat Mahomes when he was with the Chiefs. So he doesn't trade up, but with all this talk, I agree with you. I think there is real possibility he might. I don't think it's going to be the 3 like we're all hoping to get Marvin Harrison Jr. But you're right, man. We haven't had a good tight end in Indianapolis since Dallas Clark. Say what you want about even the Ebron years. That dude still had more drops with Indianapolis than he did with the Steelers, and he was only with us for 2 years. We've not had a good tight end here in forever. He's a perfect fit here, and he does open up, or he would open up the rest of the offense. He can line up in the slot. He can line up anywhere. You can put him in the backfield and let him block or even run some trick wildcat plays with Harrison in the backfield. Dude's just athletic. So I absolutely love the idea of Bowers here, but the Jets are scaring me, man. I have him going to the Jets because they are also just as desperate for a tight end, and they've got Aaron Rodgers, who the last year of his career with the Packers, he was the dump-off master. He's gotten to the point in his career now where we've seen it with all the greats. They eventually get to that point where they're dump off guys. They play it safe. They know that if they don't throw interceptions, then they're not going to be the reason you lose games. They're trying to play the whole let's just make smart decisions and get down the field and see what happens. And with his dump off game, that's a perfect fit for the Jets too. So if the Colts are going to trade up, they're going to have to trade up ahead of the Jets. And if I remember right, I think the Jets are at like the 10th pick or something like that. Yeah. So that's a pretty big jump from 15 to inside the top 10. And it doesn't sound like much, but when you're talking first round material, that's a big jump. So you're going to have to give up at least a second with that 15. I just don't know that Ballard's going to be willing to do that. I hope so. I really hope so.
You trust Tyron Smith and Moses Morgan? That you think that's what the Jets are trusting to keep Aaron Rodgers coming off that leg injury upright? Like this, I honestly think there's no way that they draft Bowers at 10, knowing that they've had trouble on the O-line for years, and now Mekhi Becton is pretty much washed and done. Like it's over with.
You tell me though, Nino, you're the college guy. From what I hear though, Bowers can block. Unlike any tight end that we've seen too. Like the athleticism is there across the board. Am I wrong?
Not enough to keep your quarterback up, right? You need, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like he's a receiver. Yeah.
So that was, listen, I think Aaron Rodgers will be happy to dump it off to Breece Hall, right? Like I know what you're saying about needing a tight end. I get
also why I have Breece Hall number 2 in my redraft rankings right now. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, for sure.
And he's not a top tier tight end. But he came on towards the end with Zach Wilson. Jeremy Rucker is not like, this is some Shipley type back. Okay, I caught myself there. And this kid is all right. And I think we've seen multiple tight ends with Aaron Rodgers do well. It don't matter who the guy is. I mean, Jermichael Finley, he turned into almost a Pro Bowler. So I think they're okay with Rucker there, where I don't think they have to reach at 10 for Bowers. I think they need to get a line. They got to get somebody to solidify that they can protect their quarterback with, especially if they're all in for the next 2 years, as they seem to be with Rodgers.
All right, guys. I'm go ahead, George. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, well, I was just going to close. I was going to start closing it out because we are now at 143 here. Last thing I want to ask.
We're at the highest amount of viewers we've been, but yeah, let's go ahead and close it out.
Listen, if you guys want to continue, I got
about 5 minutes left in there.
Oh, no,
not a problem, guys.
Let's go.
Well, listen. So let me mention before I was going to do this at the opening, but we can do it at the close. So George and I are going to be hanging out for the draft. We do it every year. We probably end up at walk-ons watching the draft, having some apps. Nina, where are you watching the draft from? You watching it just from your home?
Yeah, I'll be at my home.
And Justin, you watching it at home too?
Yeah, I'll be at home. I'm actually going to be a guest spot on a couple of different shows. I'm not. I don't know that I'm going to be like full on deep into watching the draft as much as I'm going to be talking about it as it's going on. But I'll see the tickers, you know. But yeah, I'm excited about it. It'll be fun.
All right, and for everybody who enjoyed having Nino on, we miss him for sure. Nino, why don't you plug yourself and let people know where they can see you?
Plug myself.
That's not what the plugging he was talking about.
I know. I was going to say pause, but I was trying to stay, out of the rated R content here. But
he was talking about your Shipley spot.
You can catch me over at the CFB Nation. The college world is where I live, and that's my bread and butter. So I'm over at the CFB Nation. That's where you catch me most of the time. And if you want any of my written content, I do a couple articles here and there for the league winners. Again, mostly college football. That's my bread and butter. That's where I'm in. But anytime you guys need me, I'm always available. My handle is _ Nino Brown _ And it was a pleasure being with you guys once again.
Nino, it was great joking around with you, man. It was great having you on. We do miss you. I do want to say for Toilets Titles, you can reach us at toiletstitles.com, our patreon.com/Toilets Titles. Hit us up. I like to say we have a tier for every salary range. So, we start low, we go high. We get that level where you can come spoon with George at the FF Expo. I mean, it's a decent amount of money, but we'll definitely sell it if you're willing to pay for it.
Actually,
George is that type of guy.
He is.
It really is not that expensive. So, like I said, we have a tier for every. So, patreon.com/Toilets Titles. Jump in there. And again, our Gilded app, we have a chat in there with over 200 people talking about football all the time. We talk about everything you can think about football, and even stuff like we did on this show that has nothing to do with football. So, jump in there. And if you want to get in, you got to email toiletstitles@gmail.com. Coach and Justin will get you in. And Justin, I saw your finger go up. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was stretching. You're good. Thank you, Nino.
All right. Nino, again, one more time, because you guys don't understand how much fun it was to have Nino back here. And for David, missed you at the end here, bud, but we got to see his babies tonight, and that is definitely going to be a highlight. So,
twin dad, baby. Yeah.
Everybody out there, you guys enjoy Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. For those of you that are really into the draft like Nino, all the way to Mr. Irrelevant from the Jets at the end. So enjoy this week, and we will. I'm assuming we're going to be back next Sunday, even though we normally do every 2 weeks. I assume we're going to do next Sunday to recap the draft. So
absolutely,
we will see you next Sunday right here on the round table. Have a good night.